Hey everyone, before we dive into today's video, I wanted to take a moment to give a huge shout out to our sponsor, Paladin Cards. If you're a fan of collectible card games such as Elestrals, Pokemon, and Magic, you're going to love what Paladin Cards has to offer. They provide an amazing selection of cards to choose from and such amazing deals. They are a veteran-owned and community-focused company. As a fellow veteran, it's an honor and privilege getting to partner with and support Paladin Cards as a veteran to another veteran. I do most of my bulk buying for Elestrals through Paladin Cards. They have amazing bundle deals and cases for sale. Not many other places offer that. Right now, Elestrals is starting pre-orders for their newest set, Moonrise. And the deals are out of this world and I recommend buying from them. I know I have. So if you want to level up your game nights, check out Paladin Cards. You can find the link in the description below. And don't forget to use my code LUNARIANS for a 5% discount on top of these amazing deals. Thank you for supporting the channel and our awesome sponsor, Paladin Cards. Now let's get back to the video. Greetings Lunarians, old and new. Welcome back to another episode of Mythological Mondays. Today we will be diving into the couple of runes of Frostfall that we haven't talked about so far that involve myths. First one up is Ambrosia Cornucopia. Now you may be asking, why is Cornucopia up here? Well, in the last episode we talked about ambrosia and what ambrosia is and how it's the food of the gods. Not to be confused with nectar, because they could be interchangeable. But what Cornucopia is in Elestrals, it's a titled version of ambrosia. So what this one does is you draw a card, then return any number of spirits from your underworld to your spirit deck up to the number of ambrosia in your underworld. So it pairs well with the ambrosia. You can run 6 copies of the ambrosia, 3 of Cornucopia, and 3 of ambrosia to kind of facilitate healing and draw power. Cornucopia hasn't been played a lot due to the banning of Drataya, but I'm sure it will make a return someday. Now, mythologically speaking, give me 1 second. Pull up my notes. Okay, here we go. So, mythology offers multiple explanations of the origins of the Cornucopia. One of the best known involves the birth and nutrients of the infant Zeus, who had to be hidden from his devouring father Cronus. In case you didn't know, Cronus ate his children until they cut him open and then came out. In a cave at Mount Ida on the island of Crete, baby Zeus was cared for and protected by a number of divine attendants, including the goat Amalthea, which stood for nourishing goddess, who fed him with her milk. The suckling future king of the gods had unusual abilities and strength, and in playing with his nursemaid, accidentally broke off one of her horns, which should have the divine power to provide unending nourishment, as the foster mother had to the god. So the Cornucopia is in the shape of a goat horn, in case you couldn't tell, which is where one of the myths came from. Another myth that's out there about the Cornucopia was created when Heracles, also known as Hercules, wrestled with the god Alchelis, sorry if I mispronounced that, and ripped off one of his horns. River gods were sometimes depicted as horned. So once again, it's a horn that was ripped off or taken off of a goat or a god that had horns. I thought that was really cool for Ambrosia and Cornucopia's lore to tie that into mythology. Next, we have Poison Nectar. As Poison Nectar kind of tells, it's the opposite of Nectar of the Gods. So with Nectar of the Gods, what you would do is you would play and you would draw 2 cards. What Poison Nectar does, if your opponent does that, you would activate Poison Nectar, and instead of having its effect, it would be negated, and then you would destroy the card. I thought it would be cooler if Poison Nectar would do the opposite of, if it played to that, you would do the opposite. So instead of drawing 2, you would discard 2. But I digress. So Poison Nectar doesn't really have Greek mythology ties, other than it being the opposite of Nectar of Gods. However, in Hindu mythology, there is a story of a poisonous nectar. The gods, known as Devas, and demons, Asuras, churned the cosmic ocean to obtain the nectar of immortality, or Amrita. However, before the Amrita could be formed, a deadly poison called Hala Hala is produced. The poisonous fumes asphyxiate both the Devas and Asuras, who prayed to Shiva for help, and then Shiva drank the poison and purified it. So I thought that was really cool that there is mythology involving Poison Nectar. I don't know if that was where the Celestial team was going with this, because on first glance it's just the counter to Nectar of the Gods, so of course you would poison the nectar for the gods. Next is Divine Blessing. It's kind of self-explanatory. It's a blessing by the gods. So, according to Greek mythology, Divine Blessing is often represented by the concept of Telesto, an Oceanid nymph personifying success and divine favor, essentially signifying a gift or positive intervention from the gods, often associated with prosperity and good fortune. So, in this aspect, it's taking the positive intervention from the gods for divine. So, Divine Blessing can only be cast when an opponent activates a invoke rune. You disenchant from your field in order to gain this rune. I felt this is called Divine Blessing because normally you play this card when there's a divine rune on the field because you have plenty of spirits on your divine that you can use to pull off of to fulfill Divine Blessing's effect. Other than that, there really isn't mythology involved behind it. I thought that was kind of cool because it's Divine Blessing from the gods. Last but not least is Chains of Prometheus. Chains of Prometheus came out in Frostfall. It's a counter rune that you can use when your opponent activates a counter rune and you negate it. It received a lot of play in the early stages of Frostfall, but has kind of died out since nowadays you really only play it in fire decks. And I think even then fire doesn't really play it that often. So the really cool backstory behind the Chains of Prometheus is, for his crimes of stealing fire from Zeus, Prometheus was punished by Zeus, who bound him with chains and sent an eagle to eat Prometheus's immortal liver every day, which then grew back every night as punishment. Years later, the Greek hero Heracles or Hercules, with Zeus's permission, killed the eagle and freed Prometheus from his torment. So the god who made the chains was Hephaestus, and Zeus was the one who punished Prometheus for stealing the fire and put him in chains. So this is literally the chains or cuffs that Prometheus had to wear every day, as his liver was eaten by birds day in and day out, and it would always replenish. Could you imagine a worse punishment than having your liver being eaten alive every day by birds and other animals, just for it to be regrown and do the process all over again? I could not imagine that. That is terrifying. But that's it for the runes. There wasn't very many runes in Frostfall introduced, not very many that were tied to the gods or mythologies that I haven't already discussed in previous videos. So that's it for Frostfall. Next week is Daybreak. It'll be the final video we do until Moonrise releases. And then from that point, every time a new set comes out, a new episode of Mythological Monday will come out. So this is SorenPlays signing off. See you next week for the final episode of Mythological Mondays while we go on hiatus. Talk to you later. Bye.